And I'm noticing an interesting pattern here because every time Viper and Kazva seem to meet up on Altai, it ends poorly for the Snake. So let's see if he can reverse this losing streak on Altai or if Kazva is going to be king amongst these mountains. And it is going to be Kazva on his almost becoming just tried and true at this stage. Chinese, I feel like I see him play this Civ a lot. It has to be one of his most played in the last few months, alongside the English. Always been a kind of strong and stable choice for him. But I'm excited to see what we can do in a situation where Viper has gone for the Roost. Roost that gained some popularity amongst the boar rush strats emerging when people realized that Altai had a tendency to about, I'd say, 60 to 70% of the time spawn a boar in the center. Probably higher than that, actually. I feel like it's more close to 80% of the time we see it, one of the boars in the center and then another one off to the side. Bit of a weird, skewed generation, I'd say, in that regard. I'm kind of surprised this hasn't actually been tweaked to just essentially guarantee that if both boars, like either both boars spawn on the outside or both boars spawn in the center, because it does seem a little bit weirdly biased in that regard. And it is something I think the Roost can use to their advantage. We'll have to see if he gets the opportunity to do that, though, or if it's going to be a Barbican rush coming out from Kasva, as he does have the opportunity to deny that equity. And considering he's probably played up against his fair share of Roost players, at this stage, he's probably astutely aware of the aggression they can put on in the feudal. That being said, he is playing as a Chinese, and the Chinese are no pushover when it comes to pushing away that feudal aggression from civs that don't have access to heavily armored units. Because, of course, the Zhuge Nu reigns supreme. So Viper needs to be very careful about how he approaches this if he wants to go for a feudal age rush. If he does, I would recommend looking at knights as a crucial part of your attack force. Otherwise, you might find yourself being shredded like paper by the Zhuge Nu. The alternative is that Viper might just choose to scale up straight into Castle, as he is that type of player. We've seen he likes to engage with that Castle Age type rush, even on civs like the Roost. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this turns into a quick Imperial boom if given the opportunity, considering that Viper is absolutely in love with the Streltsy right now. Yeah, I don't know what's happening there. I mean, got a girlfriend with a gun or something. I don't know. He's absolutely maniacally obsessed with gunpowder units, and the Streltsy really are the cherry on top for him at the moment, being 30 food and 30 gold cheaper than other civs hand cannon unit. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. First of all, we need to focus on the fact that Viper is slaying it in the bounty department, already at 260 bounty. And in terms of deer sites, it looks like most of them have been removed. Interesting kind of difference. I feel like the change up now that you have these smaller deer patches does favor the Roost slightly, simply because they're going to have more scouts out and about, able to spot these out sooner, compared to the opponent who's usually going to have 2 scouts maximum trying to move around. And before you could say, oh, I've discovered one deer patch, that's 70 gold, I'm going to stop my opponent getting. Now it's, oh, I've discovered one deer patch, that's 30 gold, I'm going to stop my opponent getting. Now, overall, the Altai changes did hurt the Roost a little bit, because something we have to remember, as you can see when I'm selecting them here, is while the big stacks still have 7, the baby stacks only have 3. So overall, this is a net negative of 2 deer, and thus 20 gold to the map for the Roost. It is a little bit of a frustration, but as you can see, it's not holding Viper back, as at the 3-minute mark, he's about to crack the 300 on the bounty. And that's good enough, not to just this is Sparta, but this is Sparta your way up into the feudal. A blink of an eye. The 6 villagers shift across. Wheelbarrow has already been researched. Viper looking like he's primed for the ball play. And Kasva, as it stands, hasn't reacted in any way just yet. Almost has surplus required to go up for feudal himself. Question mark is whether he's going to go defensive with Barbican, aggressive onto the boar, or just choose to be greedy with the Imperial Academy. Anything he does, though, is going to be noticed, because look what Viper's doing here. Full vision. He's already done all his hunting and gathering, so now he gets to gather information instead of game. And that's something that Kazva can't fully match. Still needs to bring these sheep back, crucial to his eco. And it looks like it's going to be the Imperial Academy. So Kazva going to find himself on the defensive in the opening of this game. We'll need to find a way out eventually. And it will be the Wooden Fortress opening very early on for Viper. No intent to go into the Broad Axe just yet. A little bit too pricey, 175 gold. Sometimes you can afford this. Usually it's based on your bounty. If you're up at 400, then you can easily go for the Broad Axe straight away. In this situation, it's just not viable. With 6 people building this up, this really is looking like a potential ball play. It could just be Viper unlocking his win conditions, because remember, once you crack feudal as the Roost, all the doors open up for you. You're able to get into the archer ranges, start spamming out the archers. There's a 50 wood, which means the majority of the cost is in the resource that you're getting 20% more of on drop-off due to this very handy Wooden Fortress with its influence right here. And it looks like it is going to be the pull. So even joins up the next 2 villagers off the wood line. Shifts across right now. Scouts moving out, but outnumbered. Not much that Kazva can do to really stop this. If he wanted to stop it, he needed to be ready sooner than this. So it looks like this should end up being mostly a freebie. He'll try to intercept as best he can, but Shiv's out. A little bit too scary. Looks like he gets one of the villagers, though. Mistake was made there. Viper, he tried to pull one back. It does cost him dearly. He'll still get his hands on the ball. But now he has a second villager that is extra fragile. Kasva might try to wiggle in for that. Only 5 health on it, and yep, he strikes. He moves in. Maybe he loses 1 scout for it, but it should be worthwhile. It looks like actually instead it's going to be 2 scouts going down. He doesn't even get the villager. One more tap. Just in time. Just at the end, he managed to tap it down. So 2 villagers dead from Viper. And Viper instantly stable in the archery range. No wooden fortress here. Interesting switch up, but understandable considering that Kazva has gone for the Imperial Academy. So he's gone full greed. And I love this. So many players would instant knee-jerk react with the wooden fortress. Viper is very astute in his observation here. His opponent hasn't shown any aggression. He's lost both of his scouts already. There's no way he's going to be threatened here. So instead of wasting 175 wood on getting down a wooden fortress that does nothing, why not invest that into a military production building that will be mighty productive in this early point in the game? And now Kasva, look at him go. He's going for the Barbican. You need the first knight. You need it right now. Archers being produced. Needs to block this out. If he actually keeps villagers in position, he completely blocks this. Same with the scouts, but no, Viper! Viper, no! He goes for the torch instead. It's not going to be good enough. He needs to kill off as many villagers as possible, but barely any damage on these units. 6 on the villagers, 2 on the scouts. Barbican is most definitely going up. It's just a question mark of how much it's going to cost Kasva, and I don't think it's going to cost him enough. Think about this logically, folks. Lose 2 or 3 villagers here and unlock the Song Dynasty. In the next 2 minutes, you'll be ahead of Viper vastly. And there it is, insta-garrison, 12 villagers pulled to get this up. A big deal now, forces Viper away. He can at least gather on the board, maybe. I don't know, you might be in range of the hand cannons. Yep, oh, he's in range. That's a problem. So Viper, this expansion now is worthless. You can maybe use it to build archers, but the stable units are going to come out and take damage instantly. You can't gather on the ball. You are at least getting 18 gold a minute, but that's not really why you make this play. This is really well played by Kazva. Kazva proving exactly why he is Viper's kryptonite on Altai with this opening. And now Viper needs to start finding some sort of pressure into the base. Has produced the first knight. Can at least deny the wood line because Kazva's got surplus in reserve, so he'll be able to afford the racks and the first spearman coming out. And my god, that's going to be a quick build-up. Doesn't want to give over anything. Needs to be careful about this approach. Remember that Viper did start pushing archers, so he is going to be susceptible to the bonus damage that comes out from archers versus spears. I like the outpost play. A much more logical choice here. He's going to try to rush it up, but there is going to be a rush in with the archer and the knight as well. So many villagers here. Just going to go for the garrison inside the village here. Looks like he might lose 1 or 2 of the villies, but overall, like, Kazva's comfortable with this. He has a 4-point lead already. This is going to continue to escalate unless Viper switches up and goes for a secondary TC himself. Something that is potentially on the table. He's holding 1 supply, needs a second one. But by the time he gets the second one, he should be able to afford to trade over. The problem is, like, you still need to trade back, right? So you want the gold, and then you need the stone. So he makes 1 trade. He now needs 2 supplies to get into a TC if that is the play he wants to make. So we'll take another 2 minutes. And those 2 minutes are going to leave him quite fragile, actually, because while this is happening, Kazva continues to scale. He moves back to the berries in the meantime. Has the deer to come back to later. And don't be deceived, folks. He didn't play into pro scouts despite the fact it looks like it. That is a lot of deer, but most of those are actually sheep. Viper. You know, when things trip up, sometimes you have to change the track a little, you know? Can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. And this egg looked like it was broken, but it's still getting value. It's still pushing the knights, still pushing the archers. Viper just being efficient and not sacrificing the base truly. And it means that Kazva is playing on straggler trees and limited resources right now. He could look to get an outpost up on the north side, but it looks like he has no interest in gold as it stands. However, these archers have a keen interest in you. We'll just drop off all the food and shift away. And right now, Kazva just trying to micro back and forth, looking for a way back on these eco lines. And there's the sneak in. Or sneak out, rather. The outpost going up too quickly for Viper to respond. And the TC fire going to take out one of those knights. So early pressure is not reaching a high quantity for Viper right now. Only able to keep 1, maybe 2 skirmishing groups maximum operational. A little bit frustrating. And I feel like this isn't going to be good enough. Viper needs a fallback plan. Right now starting to stockpile the food and the gold. So this could end up being a play into a quick castle age. And considering he controls the mid flow of the map, this should end up being at least 4 relics going the way of the snake, if that's what he wants to go for. In the meantime, Kazva just going to get as much wood as possible. You can see he's starting to stack the outposts. So static defenses, a respectable choice here. Makes more sense than the spears, because the spears, of course, are counted out by the archers, even if there's only a few of them. Garrisons will come out. Knights are going to be a little bit frustrating, but there's just enough room for everyone. Nobody has to sleep in the stable here. And that looks like the forward vanguard is going to be wiped. Viper, in a kind of frustrating situation. Kasva, of course, is sacrificing a lot of eco every time he garrisons like this. But I guess in his eyes, he's mapping it out and feels it's more valuable than spending on the military infrastructure and then spending on the military units right now. All the while, Viper taking advantage of this to try and plow his way up. But looks like he's reinvested some of the gold, so isn't just racing. Instead, he's going to race for a finish. He's going for the siege engineering after all. A weird but wonderful choice to see here, considering that he just lost the forward vanguard, has barely any troops on the front. The fact that he's willing to invest in the siege engineering now could easily cost him this game. Especially if Kasva exploits this to go into the Zhuge Nu, and it looks like he is. Zhuge Nu plus spears is going to answer everything that Viper can do, and this was my worry. This is the power of the Rus-Chinese matchup for the Chinese. Once you get to Zhuge Nu, you counter everything they do in feudal, and that's why I want to see Viper going for castle in this situation. He is still stockpiling a lot of food, but it's the gold that's lacking. You can see, like, he's been doing some trade. He spent a lot of that gold going into the research, not only getting the siege engineer, but also now the steeled arrows. So could have almost been at castle age otherwise. Let's see if this is worthwhile, though. First ram being constructed up. Meanwhile, wall constructs. Zhuge Nu will get rid of the archer at the back, so it looks like he'll be able to layer himself in on the backside here. Kasva looking to funnel all attention into the center mass area, where he has a large flurry of outposts waiting to greet any aggression. And you have to say, what now, Viper? You're still stockpiling a lot of resource. He could float gradually into castle. This could actually be a very big brain play. If his intent is to build a small military force to force Kasva to reinvest feudal and then rush castle, it's going to completely catch Kasva off guard. Although the Zhuge Nu will keep scalability against what you do next, because if Viper goes into horse archers like so many players do when they hit castle age again, you're in trouble. The horse archers have the same range as the Zhuge Nu, but the Zhuge Nu do notably more damage at the same tech up. So it's not really a fight you necessarily want to take. If you switch over to man-at-arms, however, you could just brutalize Kasva. Rams moving out into the Barbican will offer up an opportunity to extend the base should Viper choose to do so. Right now, though, I think he's fixated on just getting that castle as quickly as possible. Even moves the knights in, so everything committed to make sure this goes down. Does cost him a knight in the process. Not sure if this was needed, but it feels like Viper sees himself on the clock. So he needs to breach this quickly and flood through so that there's pressure applied to Kasva, because he understands what the Chinese is like. You leave them alone for a second, and all of a sudden you hear a tech-up noise. This Civ is ridiculous when it wants to go ahead. Right now, the only thing it wants to go ahead on is the pop cap. Kasva building a sizable army here, moving out to address the battering rams with 8 spears, 7 Zhuge Nu. Not sure if the Barbican's going to live long enough here. We'll have to see. It's going to be a little bit tight, to say the least. Zhuge Nu, a very ambitious choice here. Moving out is going to expose the Zhuge Nu to the knights, which will ride in. They'll now retreat towards the spears, but it looks like the Barbican is on fire. Won't last long here. Touch of the tips as the Viper has to peel back the knights here. But the Zhuge Nu are going to get the better side of these trades as a result of that, and that's the problem here. This full base is about to burn. He needs more infrastructure. He needs it soon. It's going to be the high trade house, so not even playing for the relic straight away. Viper looking for that long-term scalability, realizing that if Kasva has locked himself into feudal, he should still be able to go for a monastery and get warrior monks anyway. So you might as well get this ridiculous placement for the high trade house with 3 different forest lines around it. This has got to be, let's check these numbers. This has got to, I want to say 139? 139. We'll check on that in a sec. Meantime, let's check out this base being burnt to the ground as Kasva makes his move forward. He's going to have to actually look to pivot off of this aggression because taking out the proxy base is good. But now you've invested so much, you want to try and apply some pressure directly into Viper's base. The nice thing for you, this high trade house is exposed. He might get reasonable value, but he might lose it quickly. 178. All right, I underestimated it. I always do. It's because I've given stupidly high numbers before and I never trust myself anymore. So 178, but here's the thing. If Kasva gets a scout out, if he sees this, it's insta-gone, and that passive goal is gone with it. And not many troops to defend either. Archery range is now being spammed out alongside the horse archers. And remember what we said, I don't know if this is necessarily the best choice, especially when you're getting butchered in the meantime. So the high trade house has been found, and this is good value for Kasva. Torch that baby to the ground. Burn it, burn it. Jugay Nu going to chase away, and look what Kazva is able to unlock now. He's going to race up to Castle. In the meantime, the Wooden Fortress of knee-jerk reaction coming up for Viper is delayed. And it means it's cost him a lot of villages. Not enough room to garrison all of them. A nice peel back by Kazva, and now look at the eco lead, 53 to 37. And that Castle Age advantage that Viper had is about to evaporate, as Kazva has plenty of surplus to go up himself. And it will be the astronomical clock tower. Not something he'll look to take too much value off of initially, but it will allow him to then upgrade their Jugnu. And the Jugnu that right now haven't even been getting the blacksmith upgrades. He only just popped that down, so he'll be able to get them up to around 6 damage. Free burst, 18 compared to the 13 damage of these horse archers. And as I pointed out before, these units have the same tower range, 4.5 range. And health-wise, you're going to be neck and neck with the upgrade for the Jugnu. That'll bring them up to 80 health compared to the horse archers at 85. Boy's Fortitude can at least increase you to 105 on these horse archers. But it still doesn't feel like a great trade when you consider the price. It's 120 resource for one, and then we look at the Jugay Nu, you can see it's only 80 per, and yet it does more damage. And this is what my worry was. This is what I was highlighting before. Like Viper, if he goes to the Man at Arms, you can see a way this could work, but I don't think Horse Archer is the solution right now. Knights not able to find much value as they try to extract some from that wood line. Plenty of injured villagers, but plenty are going to survive. Although you force Kazva back for the moment, it's not going to be for long. Remember, the high trade house was lost as well, so when we look at the income per minute chart, it's not going to look good in the next 2 minutes of Vibe. You can see he's at least competing on wood is the primary. Food looking good as well, as Kazva seems to be a little bit depleted. But that should change soon. I'm not sure if we're going to see Kazva necessarily play into farms anytime soon, as most players try to delay that. But that is an option. And an option also available to him is the Monastery, which he's now dropping. Remember, he's playing as the Chinese, so they can supervise to increase the production of this by 2.5 times, taking it from 45 seconds down to 18 seconds per monk produced. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes that play. He knows Viper all too well. We know Viper all too well. He loves to play for the relics. So if you can actually cut him off there and take the majority, you're going to have a big smile on your face. And Jugay Nu plus the Spearman back on the front again. Horse Archers slowly but surely being produced. Mangonel coming out could be big for Viper. Jugay Nu slow to move away. Instead, they go deeper, looking for some good trades here. It's going to be a throwaway force if he's not careful. Does peel back just in time after sniping down a few of the archers. And he can get in the eco line. This could be big, actually. Denying all the wood, forcing him away, also preventing him from producing more monks here. That could be a deal breaker. That could actually give the edge for Kazva to move out and collect these relics. But he does need to supervise this. He still hasn't actually got supervision on the monastery. So this is a very slow production on the monks. In the meantime, just patrolling around the back. And this is forcing Viper to respond there, which means he's not getting aggressive. He's kind of missing his power spike of these Mangonels, which is going to give time for Kazva to respond with anti-siege of his own, but instead he goes greedy. It's going to be the secondary TC, folks. Might even be a third. Could also be a keep drop coming out from Kazva, as it looks like he's going back onto the stone immediately. Viper, the greedy boy, was out here for the deer, was hoping to keep the hunting cabin for the gold. That is just not going to be the case, though. Can at least wall himself in as he shifts to the south side. Question mark is, what are you here for? What is that you want here? There is nothing in this area, Mr. Snake Man, unless you want a few trees. I think more than anything, he just wants to escape. All's going up. Love this play coming out from Viper. Kazva is now trapped, so this army is going to be wide. Mangonel shots off the mark. What the hell was that? What? All right, Stormtroopers have taken over the Mangonels here. Those Mangonels are going to be overwhelmed. Mistakes being made by Viper. That is way too greedy with the position in there. That's going to cost him dearly. 2 Mangonels going down makes it a bad trade, and all the follow-up as well. This is the problem. You pinned him in. It's a good play if you can actually frighten him. But instead, Kazva pushes aggressively, rushes in, and gets huge value for this Vanguard force. And he might get even more because Viper is off the mark. This micro is not good from him. This is unlike Viper. I feel like he's very delayed. The Spinman moving in might be able to get enough torch damage out. It's going to be tight. Springwood upgrade might save the day, but the Zhuge Nu stick on top of him like glue, and that is another Mangonel down. Kazva still with about 10 Zhuge Nu at the end of this. This is looking grim for Viper. Remember, those Mangonels are not cheap, folks. 600 resources, 400 wood, 200 gold. You've only got 3 relics bank, so it's not like you're floating in the resources infinitely, especially with your landmark being burnt to the crisps. Ooh. Looks like Zhuge Nu will finally come to an end, but you're happy with this if you're Kasva. You found plenty of value out of this Vanguard force, and while that was happening, you were booming up, because not only was he going for the trip TC, but it was also the farmland transition. This is pristine play out of Kasva. This is why he's the master Altai out of these two. He understands how to manipulate the flow of the mid-map. He understands how to alleviate pressure onto his own economical transition by applying pressure onto his opponents. And that is why he's now vastly ahead of Viper. Look at the eco count, 52 to 77. On top of that, when we go to the income side of things, gold food looking great for Kazva, wood almost competitive despite the fact he's up against a Roost player, and he's also gathering stone, which will allow him to posture in this midsection of the map, which is what he's now doing with the Ford Keep drop onto the sacred site. Everything that Kazva's doing here is succinct. And Viper just caught in a perpetual state of I don't know, headless chickenism at this stage, I think I'd call it. Because I haven't seen a single move out of Viper in the last several minutes that has felt it had a purpose behind it. Or at least not a purpose when you know what you're up against. Like, it doesn't feel like there's any sort of counterplay that was in the Mangonels. You know, maybe if the micro's on point, it looks good, but this is not Viper Man fully awake, it feels like. But Kasva, he came to play. Nesta Bees as well to try and deter the archers. Build up should be quick enough because you are the Chinese. And it looks like Keep is going to be established in the meantime. Relic situation is coming to a close. One more relic up for dispute. Nice move out there. Kasva coming in with the backstop, not only stopping the relic from being garrisoned, but also now weaving his way around the back into the farmlands. And all of a sudden, Viper is looking pinched. And he has a static force, remember. He went for Mangonels, he went for Springwheels, he went for Archers. He can't insta-react to this left and right. He's going to have to forfeit more ground, and I don't think you've got much ground to forfeit here. More villagers going down. Every single one of these stings hard for Viper. Remember, he is still playing on only 1 TC. And I don't remember the last time that Viper killed a Chinese villager back at base. Yes, he killed a few building up the keep, but not back in Kasva's eco. He just gets to thrive. Now with the granaries also being popped down. And this is when you know the Chinese player is feeling confident. When he moves out like this with this villager force at the front of his base with no static defenses right next to it, with the farms and the granaries ahead of his TC, this is when he's feeling good, especially when he had the backup option over here. And this almost feels like cruise mode. Viper, you can see what he's attempting to do now. He's trying to scale up. He's trying to go for Imperial, but I'm a little bit concerned, folks. Him going for Imperial could cost him the game. Kazva is prepping a siege force. You can see him building up the numbers again. The forward racks as well to allow for the Palace Guard. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get some trebuchets being pushed out soon. Who am I kidding? Kazva's not that big of a fan of trebs. He's a fan of aggression. Yoink of the Relic isn't quite going to work. That is the most look at me mama. I have a golden tool wall I've ever seen, as it achieves nothing. But yeah, this is the problem with what Viper's doing. Like, he's just wheeled his whole army away from base. And if Kasva ever realizes this and just goes in, you're dead. And that's maybe something that Kazva could improve upon. I feel like his vision is incredibly lacking in this game. Like, when you actually look at it in terms of aggressive vision, like, you can see he's just got a monk over here. He's captured a sacred site. He's got his force patrol on the north side. In the center, the keep isn't providing much vision. Even if you crawled in some outposts or you ran a scout in, I think it's worthwhile to see what's happening. Because if Kasva knew that Viper's entire army, including the siege, was on the north side of the map right now, he would be making a move. And it looks like Viper just revealed that info, and that's going to be a freebie. That is a mistake made. Viper, what the hell is going on? That is not right. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not right what's happened here. I have never seen such a freebie given over in a competitive game of Age of Empires at the highest level on the rank leaderboards. I don't understand what this is. I guess Christmas came early for Kasva. He's been gifted some elo because this seems like a throwaway by Viper. A huge throwaway as well. Especially for someone who now wants to tech up. And although the replacements will be cheaper with the high armory now, the timing could not be worse. Kazva realizes he goes in. He'll spot the tech up. He can't stop it. But he can stop you from utilizing it as he rushes in. He needs to get some siege on the front line. This is where Kazva could end the game. This could be big. And Viper, well, he will be forced to garrison everything. Hasn't really got surplus to build up a new army. He needs food. Food is the lacking thing right now, and all of his farms have been shut down. Oh, it seems there was some sort of rat infestation, my lord. Oh my god, no, the villagers! So many dead. So many homes without a father or a mother now. The Streltsy coming out, but Streltsy suck against this many Zhuge-Nu. We've been down this road before, Viper. We watched this the other day. Zhuge-Nu absolutely just ruffle slapping you around the face 24/7. When will we learn? And Palace Guard now in the mixer as well, so some of the gap close on top of the Zhuge-Nu to blitz the Streltsy. And it's going to take him so long to build up that initial quantity of Streltsy. Kazva's not going to allow that for that. And at the same time, look what Kazva's doing. Not only does he have an aggressive force postured right in the middle of Viper's base, but he's close to his own boom up. And here it comes. It's going to be the Spirit Way. With the archery ranges, he realizes the win condition is simply Zhuge-Nu. And it's not like he had to change the win condition at all. All of this game has been Viper thumbs-upping the Zhuge-Nu choice for Kazva non-stop. Now onto the Monastery. Zhuge-Nu, of course, in quantity. They do decent damage. Warlock isn't going to work. Kazva, he had his energy drink this morning. He's fully awake. Keep is going to be cancelled, though. Failed attempt to get one up there by Kazva. And attempt to garrison the Relic will be successful for some reason for Viper, because it looked like he hadn't even completed the animation, but okay. Palace Guard chasing in, though. Quick unit, so 1.32 movement speed. 1.38, rather. Able to gap close upon the bombards, but instead he shreds through the Streltsy because it's a better trade. He realizes that they're much easier to take down here. Streltsy peeling back for the moment. Archers tanking the fire of the Zhuge-Nu, but the Zhuge-Nu really need to be taking out the Streltsy. Instead, Kazva's going to back away. He'll get another keep up in the center, though. He has a foothold, and the tech-up advantage that Viper was looking for hasn't really been realized. Has got 4 bombards. Seems like he really loves those gunpowder units we were talking about. I mean, we highlight this, right? Like, Viper has an obsession right now. He's a fetish. I'm starting to think the Viper is applying for an American visa right now, because this boy loves his guns. You know who else loves their guns, though? Chinese, baby. Gunpowder for life. Bombards being built up quickly. More troops push to the front line. The elite Zhuge-Nu now. 8 damage, 3 bursts. 24 damage without any reduction. The Streltsy only have 2 missile resistance, so taking a sizable chunk of damage there. Now the bombards rolling out. They are at least getting rid of all the keeps, but this is a heavy investment for Viper. And notice the Viper. He's done this thing again. You know the thing he loves to do? Where he says, I don't need a front line because I've got guns. Right? We ain't playing some 17th century warfare here, baby. I'm here in the 21st century. I don't know if that's going to work, though, because you might find your future ass medievaled out of this one by Zhuge-Nu alone, as there is plenty of them rolling forward. Of course, they are quite slow. They're 1.12. Kazva, he could try to play into the Yuan Dynasty. That would be big here, give him the gap close opportunity, but instead he's going to move in, line formation. Streltsy starting to fire back, but the return fire is just overwhelming right now. The retreat away is not even going to be that successful. Viper falling back once again under the protection of these wooden fortresses that have kept him alive for so long, but might not for much longer. With the bombards in the field, Kazva has a quick way to siege through, and he just jumps him straight in with the Zhuge-Nu and the Palace Guard onto the bombards. Target them out. They don't have the clock tower buff like the Chinese do. They're not tanky enough. The Streltsy are dead as well. Viper once again. Gunpowder is his downfall at the hand of the Chinese, as Kasva will continue to reign supreme on Altai. Man, Kazva's got it. Like, honestly, I've talked about this before. I've highlighted already. I think Kazva is easily going to be a top 10 player in the by the end of the year, easily. I genuinely believe that. And I know some people are like, oh, but, you know, we've been there before with, like, Age of Empires 2 and him being on the outskirts and just, you know, short of the greatness. Like, no, I think this is different. I feel like Kazva's rejuvenated in a lot of ways. Like, when he made that announcement that he was going to, you know, fully invest in AoE 4, he wasn't going to sit around at AoE 2. Thank you for the sub, by the way. Appreciate you, 60. I think that was that was for me the point where I was like, this guy has his head screwed on straight. I think the do or die moment was when it seemed like he was going to retire. Now that he's fully committed, I think he's got a promising future. I think he's one of the scariest players to play on Altai at the moment, and seems to really have Viper's number. Now, he just needs to figure out a way of like adjusting to other playstyles, because I feel like Kazva's playstyle really does screw with Viper a lot, which is why I feel like if I was to pull up data for those two in the last month, like it would be heavily favored Kazva-wise in terms of win rate. But like he has to adjust the other top 7, top 8, right? But overall, he's phenomenal. Like I love that Kazva's sticking at it, and this guy's just going to keep getting better and better as the months go on, and you're going to have to watch out for him in the upcoming tournaments, that's for sure.